Tuesday, like, I didn't feel good, and that's when we took blood test. Wednesday, I was finally feeling better. Thursday, I was feeling like so good. And my mom picked me up from school Thursday afternoon, and I knew something was off. She told me, we have to go to the hospital at 7 p.m., pack your stuff. And I was like, what's wrong? She said, my platelets are low. A 16-year-old girl does not know what that means.
Yeah.
So I just went with it. And Thursday night, we were in the hospital. And 3 a.m., they transferred us to my heart hospital.
Which hospital was that?
New York Presbyterian.
Okay.
I love that hospital. And then it was Friday afternoon, so it was almost Shabbos, and I was like, what am I going to do? We don't have any results. Like, I don't know what to do. I want to keep Shabbos. And Friday afternoon at 3 p.m., I think, Shabbos was at 6, they came into the room with my mom, and they said, I have cancer, but I have the best out of the best. ALL, leukemia, part B, I think. And it's the best out of the best, so don't worry. I immediately thought, like, oh no, I'm gonna die, because my uncle died from it. So I didn't know what to do. I was like, am I gonna lose my hair? Well, how am I gonna look? Like, what about my family? Like, I thought, like, I didn't know what to do. And yeah, that was my Friday, and then they said I have to stay for a month. And I stayed for a month, and I got all the treatments, and now I'm here.
You stayed in that hospital?
Yes.
Consecutively?
For a month.
Wow.
Couldn't leave. Taught myself how to rewalk that summer.
It's a lot for anyone to handle, but especially a 16-year-old.
Yeah, but right when I got diagnosed, I forgot to say this part, I looked up to Hashem and I said, if you're giving this to me, there's obviously a reason. So I just need you to be here with me the entire time. I never asked why. And people ask, like, why didn't you ask why? And I'm like, because there was no point of asking why. I didn't need an answer. He wasn't going to give me an answer. And he doesn't need to give me an answer. That's it.
We learned about Eev, right? They were asking why about all the challenges that Eev went through. And Hashem said that if you want, I can take apart the entire world and show you why. But did I get that right?
Sounds familiar.
You don't know? If you don't know him, well, then I think I probably said something Christian right now.
I'm flattered, and that's erroneous.
That's really an incredible reaction. It's an unimaginable reaction, honestly, to hear that's how you reacted to the news. It's almost like when we interviewed Rabashkin, Shalom Mordechai Rabashkin, and he made a bracha shechianu when he got sentenced to 28 years in prison. Like, that's one of those moments of, like, you're given one of the craziest, worst news you could hear, and your reaction was turning to Hashem and saying, like, okay, just be with me and I'll be okay.
My question, though, is that you're mentioning someone who's a Chassidish Yid who learned, Tanya and Chabad Torah and has a training in Emunah. As a 16-year-old girl, if you know, where does that come from?
If I'm going to be honest, I have no clue, because I wasn't like that high in Emunah as I am right now. And I don't know where I got that thought from. I'm just happy I did, because I don't know where I'd be right now. If I asked why, like, I would never get the answer. So there's no point.
And you'd say it helps you with your day-to-day, because obviously, we were going to record this episode a few weeks ago, but you had treatment that day.
Yes.
This is something that...
How ironic.
Yeah, right? It's like something that a lot of people we have on this podcast, they're either after the situation they're going through. Some people, it's a story they had in the past, but this is happening in real time. Like,
well, I'm in maintenance, so it's
okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Maintenance is...
Like, my hair's growing back, I'm coming back to life, surviving.
So the process, I guess, when you got diagnosed, and then the treatments, did that really, like, take a lot out of you
Yeah, it was hard. Chemo is very hard. It's harder than anyone thinks. It tires you out. It makes you confused about life. It makes you like sometimes like, why am I here? Not like that you want to die, but just like, what am I doing here? There's no purpose. Like, nothing makes me happy. Nothing makes me sad. Nothing makes me angry. I'm just numb. And that's how I feel every time I get chemo. And then the next day I'm like perfectly fine, but it's fine.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing that you maintain that sense of humor with the severity and the gravity of, you know, the condition and the treatment that you're describing. It's really remarkable.
Well, I feel like how else do you continue without humor?
Yeah. But they say that laughter is the strongest medicine.
Yeah.
And then people say back to that, well, there's chemo,
Yeah,
right?
It's probably stronger.
Which is pretty strong medicine. And then there's laughter too.
But it seems like laughter has been more important to Daniella in a way.
Well, some days. Some days I'm like, I can't laugh.
What do you do in those days?
Well, it's usually chemo days. So
Like, how do you get through those days? Those are like really just sleep.
sleeping with my best friend.
Oh, they say good things about sleep, but like some, you know, like some people your age, their bad days are like, not to compare, but it could be something very trivial and minute, and your bad day is like objectively a very, very bad day.
That's why I didn't want to go back to school. Is that bad to say?
That's okay to say that, I think, as long as your mother's fine with it. I also didn't want to go back to school. It's just I didn't want to go back. But like, is that because you had a hard time relating to other people?
No, it's because like I didn't want to like hear all like the school things. I was like, okay, not to compare, because like it sounds like mean, but like I was like, my bad days are chemo days and their bad days are like 98s on a test.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to deal with that right now. I just want to like get through this chemo and then go back maybe.
Yeah. Someone offered me once really helpful feedback. You know, my wife and I were blessed with 6 children. And sometimes a kid is just like having a moment where like they're just like their world is crumbling. And that's because their lollipop fell on the ground. And it's so easy for the parent to think to themselves, this kid only knew what I'm dealing with in my life and what I have to juggle and what my responsibilities are. And like they can so easily fall into the trap of trivializing whatever issue the child is encountering. Yeah. But the reality is that lollipop
to that child,
for that kid, is his or her world crumbling.
I know, that's why I can't compare, because I've been in those shoes where I was like, ugh, why did I get this mark on a test, or like, and then now I'm here. So it's like, I know the difference, but when I didn't, like, I get why they're doing that.
For sure. And what your life experience, if I can offer you, what your life experience puts you in a unique position to do is to offer that compassion to other people, because you are enduring on a day-to-day basis something that, like Nachi said, objectively, by all measures, is objectively a very challenging, very difficult reality. And yet you're enduring it with such grace and such humor. And you can offer that as something to whomever is dealing with whatever issue they have.
Right. Yeah. I don't know what to say to that. I was listening
this
to
is
you.
where you say, yeah, dude.
You say, amen.
Yes, sir.
You know, after you were diagnosed, it's obviously a major moment in your life. You have friends, you have family. I guess take me through that. I guess your friends finding out. What was that like for you?
Actually, I didn't want to tell anyone. My parents told me to tell people. I just didn't want anyone to know. So when I finally got the courage to like tell people, I didn't. I gave the phone to my mother and my father to tell them, because I couldn't say that word. Now, like when I say it, I sometimes cringe. I'm like, ooh. But back then I could not say that word. I couldn't even think of that word. So I gave the phone to my parents and they said it. And then I told only like 3 people, and then the word just got out.
Why is it? I mean, there's many reasons why you probably didn't want to tell your friends, but I'm curious to hear from you what the reason was.
I didn't want them to think of me less. because it's very common to think of people less when they're going through something, and I just didn't want to be that, because I'm the oldest and like I'm supposed to be like the, like, what's it called? Alpaca? Not alpaca.
Alpaca.
Not the alpaca.
Why not be an alpaca? A guinea pig?
No, the
Leader of the pack?
yeah.
I
Alpha.
Thank you. That's what
I can see how you went with alpaca.
A lot of the same letters.
I thought you were the youngest.
A lot
You
of the
said the
same
oldest?
No, in my class.
Oh,
in my
you
grade.
didn't specify that. Hello. Hello.
But it's funny. It's a theme. You had mentioned Rivka Shotkin.
Yeah.
I think she shared a very similar. What's that?
Rivka Shotkin.
Yeah. She shared a very similar sentiment where all she wanted was to be treated like everyone else, despite, her unique circumstances. She wanted to just be another kid like anyone else. And it sounds like that's part of the experience, where so that people are not, pitying and poo-poo-pooing and all of that type of reaction. Just treat me like another kid in the class.
Yeah.
Do you share that feeling? That's something that for people who are, going through something, or people who are listening who aren't, but they have friends that are, let's say, sick, or they're going through something, how should they be treating them? Obviously it's case by case, but
just like nothing ever happened. Like, just because I have a disease, it wasn't my fault. Like, yes, I have to deal with it, but it wasn't my fault. So, like, treat me like nothing happened. It's easier said than done, I know that. But, like, still. Yeah.
Do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
do the hard things.
In life.
Yeah.
So much quotes.
So many.
So many quotes. Oops.
I actually like that one better.
So much?
So much quotes. So much quotes.
There's so much.
And so much good and so much funny.
Yeah.
And so much quotes.
Yes. So you're turning 18 now, but so from that moment 16 till now, I find that you mentioned that the doctors told you have the best type of cancer. Like, oh, thanks, like that's awesome, the best one. Like, I imagine that wasn't like a consolation for you.
No, I didn't really care what they said. If it was the best or worst, I just thought I was gonna die. 16 dramatic kid.
How long did you feel like that for?
Until Shabbos, like we had a whole time to like sit with I had a whole time to sit with like my parents, and I was like asking them questions, and I finally realized I'm not gonna die, but it's gonna be hard to go through this.
If you could take me into that conversation with your parents.
There was too many.
No, that specific. I'm not talking about all the conversations you had in your life. Goo goo gaga. That was the first one. Like the conversation that Erev Shabbos. And I imagine in the hospital you were. Well, take us in there. Like, what was that
I
conversation
actually didn't want to tell my father because, like I said, his brother died. So I just really didn't want to tell him. I did not want to see him break down. I didn't want to break down again. And I just couldn't tell him. I couldn't get the courage. And then I found out later that he actually knew before. And then when I realized he knew, I started to talk to him and like ask him questions and like how this journey went for him. And I finally got through it, and it was hard to talk about like stuff like my future, like how's my future gonna happen, but I was being dramatic in the end. So
were you?
Yeah, because I thought I was gonna die.
Right. I hear that. Like that could be that was a dramatic thought in the moment, but you were at the same time dealing with something, serious and difficult. So those questions about my future, everything like that, makes sense that you had them, right?
I guess. But I'm still dramatic.
That's not validating you.
You could be dramatic.
That's not validating you.
You could be dramatic. It's okay. So that you were in the hospital for a month then?
Yes.
I want to highlight something else before
you
move
highlight
to the month.
Yeah.
I want to highlight the aversion to crying, because you mentioned that you didn't want to have the conversation with your father because you didn't want to cry.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
Which tells me that you spent some time crying and processing it, and to reopen that pain and to revisit that pain again and to cry. And I just want to zoom out and highlight,
expand.
Yes, the value and really the beauty that Hashem gives us in our capacity to cry.
I've thought of that before.
What's that?
I've thought about that before.
You have?
Yeah,
What have you
like
thought about?
the ability to cry is amazing.
Right?
It's like you could express yourself in like a way that is beautiful sometimes.
Yeah, with no words, with no articulation. There's no language barrier. It's just pure, raw emoting. And you can convey something to yourself, to whoever's company you're in, and maybe even most powerfully to our Creator, to the Eibishter, with our tears. And Shara Demois Lo Ninalu means that the gate of tears is never
It's
locked.
Hebrew. Daniella, Hebrew.
Oh, I'm Israeli. I should know this.
Shara Demois Lo Ninalu, the gate of tears is never locked. And like we're sitting here recording this episode during that Aseret Simei Tshuva, and Ne'ilah is like the final moments of Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year. And that Ne'ilah, that locking that happens, Shari Demois Loy Ninalu, we're never deprived of the access that
crying.
we get with crying.
Wow, I love that.
So what's with the aversion to crying? Like,
No, so I'm but yet still,
people don't like
our
crying.
human condition is such that we naturally clam up and we avoid going there. But when we're able to sort of plow through that natural aversion to it, aversion is like when you try to avoid something.
I figured.
Yeah. I thought you were giving me like the English look there. Right. If we're able to sort of plow through that aversion, what we get in return is the beauty of tears.